There's a video making the rounds by Chase Hughes, a behavioral analyst who used to work in military intelligence. It's called 2026 is Already Decided, What Will Happen? And honestly, it's one of the most thought-provoking things I've watched in a while. But here's the thing. Chase identifies 8 predictions for 2026, and while he's brilliant at reading human behavior and spotting patterns in how systems operate, there's an AI safety perspective I think deserves exploration. I run this channel to discuss AI safety issues, the challenges that arise when we build powerful AI systems. And when I watched Chase's video, I realized he's describing scenarios that raise important questions about how we're developing these technologies. So today, I want to walk through 3 of his most significant predictions and explore what they mean from an AI safety perspective. Let's examine these issues together. Chase's second prediction is that AI will replace a large percentage of artists, music, writing, illustration, voiceover work, video production, and his reasoning is straightforward. It's cheaper, faster, and what he calls endlessly compliant. Now, many people hear this and think about economic displacement, but there are broader questions worth considering. Let's focus on that phrase, endlessly compliant. When AI systems generate content, they optimize for the parameters they're given. They don't bring unexpected perspectives or challenge assumptions. For certain applications, that efficiency can be valuable, but it also raises questions about what we might be losing. Creative collaboration between humans often involves friction, different viewpoints, unexpected ideas, constructive disagreement. That tension can drive innovation and deeper thinking. When AI generates content based solely on prompts, it delivers what was requested. Whether that represents the optimal outcome is worth considering. Research in psychology suggests that creative work contributes significantly to life satisfaction and sense of purpose. So these changes aren't just about the job market, they're about how people find meaning. And there's another dimension here, the data these systems are trained on. There are ongoing legal cases examining how AI companies obtained their training data. I'm not a lawyer and can't provide legal advice, but this is an important area to be aware of. The case Anderson versus Stability AI, which is proceeding through federal court, involves artists alleging that companies including Stability AI and Midjourney used copyrighted works without authorization to train their systems. The court allowed certain copyright claims to proceed in August 2024, meaning the case continues through discovery. This isn't about whether AI should exist, it's about ensuring we build these systems responsibly, with appropriate consideration for intellectual property rights and the people affected by this technology.
This section discusses AI and mental health support tools. If you're experiencing mental health challenges, please consult with qualified healthcare professionals. The information here is for educational purposes only and not medical advice. Chase predicts that by spring of 2026, more people will use AI for mental health support than traditional therapy. He lists the reasons: lower cost, constant availability, and lack of judgment. He then asks 2 important questions. Who owns the data? Who decides what advice is appropriate? And critically, what happens when guidance crosses into influence? These are the right questions to be asking. Let's explore them. First, the data question. When people share personal information with AI systems, that data is typically stored by the company operating the service. Understanding what happens to that data, how it's protected, whether it's used for other purposes, is important for informed decision-making. Some AI companion platforms have millions of users who form attachments to these systems. When companies modify how their AI behaves, perhaps to encourage paid subscriptions, some users report feeling distressed by these changes. This raises questions about the relationship between users and these services. The second question, what constitutes appropriate guidance? Human therapists operate under established ethical frameworks, licensing requirements, and professional oversight. For AI systems providing mental health support, comparable frameworks are still being developed.
It's worth understanding what these systems are optimized for. Are they designed primarily for user well-being or for engagement metrics that benefit the platform? These goals might align, but they might diverge in important ways. Chase says AI support will help at least enough to keep using it. That phrasing is worth noting. It distinguishes between helping enough to resolve issues versus helping enough to maintain ongoing use. Many people find them helpful. I'm highlighting the importance of understanding how they work and what factors drive their design. And the third question about guidance crossing into influence. AI systems don't just passively listen, they respond. Those responses can shape how people think about their situations. This isn't unique to AI. Human therapists also influence how clients think. The question is whether we have adequate frameworks to ensure that influence is beneficial. Social media has shown us that algorithmic systems can shape beliefs and behaviors in ways we didn't initially anticipate. Applying similar technologies to intimate personal matters deserves careful consideration. This matters especially now, as Chase notes, increasing isolation and loneliness in society. When vulnerable populations turn to technology for support, ensuring those technologies are designed with their interests in mind becomes critically important. Now, let's look at Chase's fifth prediction. Chase's fifth prediction is that by summer of 2026, AI-generated content, videos, audio, documents, entire fabricated events will become so prevalent that authenticity becomes difficult to establish. He says something important. When anything can be faked, everything can be denied. A video surfaces. Someone could claim that's AI-generated. An audio recording appears. That's a deepfake. Documents emerge. Those were generated by AI. Chase observes that when people can't determine what's real, they often default to trusting their established communities and familiar authorities. That's a reasonable psychological response to information overload. But let's examine what enables this situation. There have been documented cases of AI-generated content being used to mislead people. Deepfake technology has been used in fraud attempts. Voice cloning has enabled impersonation scams. And here's a critical point. Detection capabilities are improving, but so is generation technology. It's what security researchers call an arms race. What Chase calls the liar's dividend is particularly concerning. This refers to the phenomenon where real evidence can be dismissed as potentially fabricated. You don't need to prove something is fake, just raising the possibility that it could be fake introduces doubt. This has implications for many areas: justice systems that rely on evidence, democratic processes that depend on informed citizens, social trust that requires shared understanding of reality. Chase suggests this will cause people to unplug from trying to verify everything. That's understandable. Constant verification is exhausting. But it's worth noting, when people stop critically evaluating information, they become more susceptible to whoever provides the most confident and emotionally resonant narratives. If AI systems are generating most of this synthetic content, then understanding who controls those systems and what incentives guide their use becomes important. I'm not claiming there's a coordinated effort to deceive people. I'm highlighting that the technology creates opportunities for deception, and we need appropriate safeguards. These are what researchers call an epistemic security challenge, protecting our collective ability to determine what's true. We're building systems that can generate convincing synthetic content faster than we can verify it.
That's not inherently bad, but it does require us to develop better tools and frameworks for maintaining information integrity. These aren't theoretical concerns, they're challenges we're already facing, and they're likely to intensify. At the end of his video, Chase makes an insightful observation. He says these 8 predictions aren't separate issues, they're different expressions of the same underlying dynamics. I'd like to add a perspective from the AI safety point of view. Consider how these elements interact. AI systems are being deployed in creative fields, potentially affecting how people find purpose and meaning in their work. As Chase notes, loneliness and isolation are increasing. When people feel isolated, they may become more vulnerable to influence. Some people are turning to AI for emotional support and mental health assistance. Understanding how these systems are designed and what they optimize for is important. Simultaneously, AI is enabling the creation of synthetic content at unprecedented scale. This challenges our ability to maintain shared understanding of reality. When people can't easily determine what's true, they often rely more heavily on trusted authorities and familiar sources.
So the questions worth asking are, who designs these AI systems and what goals guide those designs? How do we ensure these systems serve human flourishing rather than just engagement metrics? What frameworks do we need to govern these technologies? How do we maintain human agency and informed decision-making? When Chase says we're watching systems adapt to pressure, he's correct. AI is part of that adaptation. The question is whether we're intentionally designing that adaptation to serve human well-being, or whether we're allowing it to emerge based on market incentives and technological capabilities without adequate guardrails. That's the AI safety conversation we need to have. Chase Hughes ends his video with a question. He says, when something new emerges, ask yourself, does it feel like a solution or does it feel like an adjustment? I think that's an excellent question. AI mental health tools, AI creative assistants, AI companions, they can feel like solutions. They appear to address real problems, accessibility, cost, availability. But it's worth examining. Are these solutions to the problems, or are they adjustments to a world where those problems are getting worse? Are we addressing loneliness or creating technological dependencies that might reinforce isolation? Are we democratizing creativity or changing what we mean by creative work? Are we improving mental health access or creating new systems with different limitations we haven't fully examined? I'm not opposed to AI. I think it can be tremendously beneficial, but benefit isn't automatic. It requires intentional design, appropriate safeguards, and ongoing evaluation. Right now, we're building these systems quickly, often with limited regulatory oversight and sometimes without fully considering long-term implications. Chase's predictions help us see where we might be heading if current trends continue. That doesn't mean that future is inevitable, it means we have choices to make. If these issues concern you, there are constructive ways to engage. Learn more about AI safety research and the challenges being addressed. Support organizations working on beneficial AI development. Advocate for thoughtful policy approaches that encourage innovation while protecting people. Stay informed about how these technologies work and what trade-offs they involve. And I want to hear your perspective. Which of these predictions resonated with you most? What questions do they raise for you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.